Duane "Dog" Chapman has led a life filled with action, danger, heartbreak, and controversy. From his early days in a motorcycle gang to becoming the face of one of reality TV's most recognizable shows, his journey has been anything but conventional. But what caused this seemingly unstoppable man to teeter on the edge of losing everything? Behind the dark sunglasses and legendary bounty hunting persona lies a tale packed with unexpected turns, hidden truths, and a path no one could have foreseen. So, what really happened to Dog the Bounty Hunter? Stay with us to uncover the truth. Duane "Dog" Chapman, the renowned bounty hunter, came from a challenging background that deeply shaped the man he would become. Born in Denver, Colorado, he grew up in a working-class family. His father, a Navy welder who later became a bail bondsman, was a strict and often harsh figure. Meanwhile, his mother, a Sunday school teacher, tried to instill strong moral values in her children. At first, Duane considered his childhood fairly typical, but as he grew older, he began to understand just how difficult it had been. His father had a quick temper and would strike him, a form of discipline Duane initially thought was normal. He even recalled a paddle his father used, leaving him bruised and in pain. Known as Flash for his boxing skills, his father insisted on teaching him how to fight from a young age, believing it would make him tougher. But more than anything, Duane longed for his father's love and approval. However, at just 16, he made the bold decision to leave home and join a motorcycle gang called the Devil's Disciples. This act of rebellion stood in stark contrast to his religious upbringing, where his preacher mother ensured the family attended church regularly. Although he didn't see himself as a fire and brimstone preacher, Duane fiercely defended his beliefs, even getting into a fight with someone who insulted Jesus. That incident led one of his fellow bikers to give him the nickname Dog, pointing out that it was God spelled backward. From that moment, he embraced both the name and the persona that came with it. In the 1970s, while living in Denver, Dog the Bounty Hunter met his first wife, LaFonda Sue Darnell. Their romance quickly blossomed, and after a few years of dating, they married in 1972. Their journey together took them to several different places before they finally settled in LaFonda's hometown of Pampa, Texas. The couple had two sons, Duane Lee Chapman II and Leland Chapman. However, as their family grew, so did the cracks in their marriage. Chapman's mounting legal troubles placed a heavy strain on their relationship, and things quickly spiraled downward. In 1976, Chapman found himself caught up in a drug deal that took a deadly turn. While he remained in the car, one of his associates got into a confrontation with the dealer, Oliver, which ended in a fatal shooting. Although Chapman wasn't directly involved in the killing, Texas law still held him accountable. Since he failed to report the crime, he was convicted of murder and sentenced to 5 years in prison. However, he ended up serving only 18 months. Instead of marking the end of his journey, prison became a pivotal turning point. During his time behind bars, he worked as a barber for the guards and even found himself in a life-changing moment. When a fellow inmate attempted an escape and was ready to use deadly force, Chapman stepped in and prevented a tragedy. His act of courage earned him respect and a suggestion from one of the guards that would shape his future. He should become a bounty hunter. Upon his early release, Chapman faced a mountain of child support debt. In need of fast cash, he turned to bounty hunting, a career path that, surprisingly, even the judge from his case encouraged. The judge had observed Chapman's resilience and sharp instincts while incarcerated, believing he had the skills necessary for the job. While bounty hunting gave him a fresh start, his marriage did not survive the turmoil. By 1977, LaFonda filed for divorce, and their lives permanently diverged. After the divorce, Chapman was eager to move forward. In his autobiography, he recalled meeting Ann Tenniel at a biker party in Colorado that same year. The two hit it off immediately, and by the end of the night, he offered to drive her home. It was then that she revealed she was only 17 years old. Fearing legal trouble, Chapman decided to marry her the very next day. Looking back, he later admitted that they barely knew each other and likely wouldn't have wed if not for her age. Despite their rocky start, Chapman and Tenniel had 3 children together. Tragically, their firstborn, Zebediah, passed away shortly after birth. They later welcomed 2 sons, Wesley and James, but the strain on their relationship proved too much, and they divorced in 1982. Following the split, Chapman faced a major setback. He lost custody of his children. However, He refused to give up and continued fighting to rebuild his life. He traveled to Colorado with the goal of reconnecting with his other children, Duane Lee and Leland. He met Lisa Ray Britton at a bar. Chapman, as forward as ever, informed her that he wanted to have a kid with her and even offered her money to do so. Lisa surprised me by agreeing. She left her husband and married Chapman, with whom she had 3 children. However, their marriage was not exactly built to last. They married soon, but it turns out they were not particularly compatible. Chapman desired a glitzy Hollywood lifestyle, whilst Lisa preferred a peaceful existence in the woods. Their conflicts eventually separated them, and they divorced in 1991, leaving Chapman unmarried once more. Dog met his next wife, Tawny, while he was still married to Lisa Britton. According to his book, their story started in 1988, when Dog arrested Tawny for drug possession. A few years later, he recruited her as his secretary, and their professional connection swiftly became love. Tawny wanted a serious commitment, but Dog was not searching for something long-term. Despite the strain, he eventually gave in and married her. Their relationship had been strained from the beginning. Tawny suffered with substance abuse again, and Dog confessed to being unfaithful. Dog's melancholy and substance usage worsened when his mother died. While still married to Tawny, Dog began an affair with Beth Smith, causing his marriage to crumble. Beth Smith is most known as Dog the Bounty Hunter's wife and sidekick, but their journey began long before they became famous. When they first met in 1988, Beth was on the run from the law. She later revealed that her issues began when she was suspected of stealing 2 lemons from a supermarket. She was nabbed after stepping out of a payphone to make a call while carrying the lemons. To make matters worse, Beth was carrying an unlicensed firearm and owed money on traffic citations. She needed to get out of jail, so she called Dog, a bail bondsman at the time. He sent the paperwork by bus, putting her in jail for 12 hours. When Beth finally arrived at his office, she tried to seem cool, but Dog saw right through her. Beth subsequently stated that she was utterly smitten and resolved to have him. The chemistry between Dog and Beth was evident, but their relationship had its difficulties. Despite his marriages, other relationships, and difficulties with addiction, Dog and Beth remained close. By 1997, Dog, his children, and Beth had moved in together. They then married and started a profitable bail bond company named Dakin Bail Bonds. Their major break came in 2003, when they assisted in capturing Andrew Luster, the heir to the Max Factor company. Luster was wanted for sexually assaulting several women, and Dog tracked him down in Mexico. However, bounty hunting is banned there, and Dog was apprehended at the border. He had to pay bail to get himself and his team released from jail. The irony was that Dog's criminal record prevented him from legitimately arresting anyone in the United States. A spokesperson from the Florida Bail Bondsman Association even said that his conduct could be deemed kidnapping. Despite the legal obstacles, the capture propelled Dog into the spotlight. A&E launched Dog the Bounty Hunter in 2004, and viewers were enthralled. For nearly a decade, viewers watched Dog as he chased for fugitives and dealt with high-risk scenarios. His crazy mullet, sunglasses, and outgoing personality became his distinctive style. Dog later said that his appearance was purposely planned to scare fugitives. Beth frequently highlighted that their show wasn't only about catching crooks. At its essence, it was about assisting others and providing second chances. The show became a huge success, but Dog's fiery nature, which made him famous, also caused problems. In 2007, Dog drew criticism after a private phone call between him and his kid was exposed. During the conversation, Dog used a racial slur and expressed anxiety that it might jeopardize his career if it became public. The National Enquirer published the recording, prompting a rapid response. Andy suspended the broadcast and initiated an investigation. Dog apologized publicly for the damage his words caused and promised to do better in the future. He appeared on CNN, apologizing and promising never to use the term again. His earnestness persuaded the network, and the show was eventually restored to television. Dog the Bounty Hunter became a cultural icon thanks to his long blonde hair, distinctive sunglasses, and Beth's incredible ability to hunt down fugitives while wearing high heels. The family's motivational speeches before each mission were famous, and the show remained a fan favorite for 8 years. However, despite the show's sustained popularity, Andy abruptly discontinued it, startling viewers. After stepping back from Andy and the Chapman family, embarked on a new chapter with their CMT show. Dog and Beth on the hunt. It was a new beginning, but the path was not without hurdles. The bail bond sector, which they were so enthusiastic about, encountered tremendous challenges, causing the family to postpone filming while they struggled to preserve the career they loved. After a brief hiatus from television, Dog and Beth returned, but this time the focus was much more personal and painful. In 2017, Beth was diagnosed with throat cancer. She broke the news to fans in an emotional letter, vowing to fight with everything she had. There was a brief period of optimism following tumor removal surgery. By November, Beth had been proclaimed cancer-free, and it appeared like the worst was over. However, their relief was sadly short-lived. Only a year later, Beth had another surgery and received dreadful news. The cancer had returned, spreading to her lungs. Despite the bleak diagnosis, Beth refused to give up. By late 2018, she had spoken about the battle as just another hurdle in her life, resolved to keep moving forward. On June 26, 2019, Beth died. Duane broke the news, stating she had gone to heaven and was dearly loved. In her closing moments, Beth did not want to look at him. Dog assumed it was because she knew he was losing hope and needed him to remain strong. He tried to lift her spirits by continuously telling her she will be fine, even though deep down he wondered why people say that when they know the truth. The weight of her departure was nearly terrible, and his sadness was palpable. Finally, Beth told Dog to let her go. He fought to accept it, unable to contemplate living without her. But before he could answer, she died. Dog the bounty hunter was devastated by Beth's death in ways no one could have predicted. In an emotional interview with Dr. Oz, he revealed the deepest moment of his loss, including how he couldn't stop crying and considered taking a fistful of pills. Fortunately, he did not go through with it, but it demonstrated how much he was battling. Dog was suffering from both emotional and financial problems. He told the Toronto Star that Beth's medical expenditures and the cost of sustaining their large family had exhausted his savings. He was on the verge of losing his home because he couldn't keep up with the mortgage payments. It was a difficult period, and losing Beth made everything feel more heavier. A few months after her death, Dog began to have chest issues and difficulty breathing. At first, he dismissed it as heartbreak, his heart actually broken. He told Fox 31 Denver that he assumed it was all in his brain. However, when the symptoms persisted, he decided to seek medical attention. Dog, like many guys his age, was prone to ignoring health issues. Beth had always pushed him to take care of himself, and without her, he didn't prioritize his health. Thankfully, Dr. Oz intervened and persuaded him to take some vital tests. They even videotaped the process on his show, emphasizing the importance of treating these health conditions seriously. Dog confesses to being a heavy smoker since the age of 12, consuming up to 3.5 packs each day for almost 4 decades. Despite this, physicians discovered that his heart was remarkably healthy. But there was a serious problem, a blood clot in his lungs known as a pulmonary embolism. Dr. Oz described how deadly this disease could be, as the clot prevents blood flow to the lungs, posing a life-threatening scenario. Dog became determined to change his life and quit smoking. He began taking nicotine patches and committed to treatment to address the mental issues that drove his addictions. With the assistance and support of Dr. Oz and his staff, Dog began to make adjustments in his life. After overcoming these obstacles, Dog the Bounty Hunter landed a new show, Dog's Most Wanted, on WGN. Dog the Bounty Hunter has developed his name by apprehending some of the country's most violent criminals. Leonard Trujillo Jr., a man with a long history of criminality, including armed robbery and assault on a police officer, was one of his high-profile arrests. Trujillo had been on the run, but Dog and his squad were desperate to find him. The hunt was not simple. They pursued Trujillo across southern Colorado for 12 days, determined not to let him get away. As the team closed in, they sent out a confident message indicating that Trujillo's time was up. They were not mistaken. When they ultimately apprehended him, the arrest was not without incident. There was a scuffle, and Trujillo was left with a bloodied head. Even as he yelled abuses, Dog and his team remained steadfast, humorously referring to themselves as God's gangsters. That day was not solely about Trujillo. They were able to apprehend 4 more persons, which was a significant accomplishment. The dramatic events were captured in an episode of Dog's Most Wanted, which aired just months after Beth's death. making it an emotional chapter for the crew. However, life for Dog took some unexpected turns following Beth's death. 7 months later, stories began to circulate about him dating Moon Angel, a family acquaintance. The news provoked outrage, with his daughter Lissa turning to social media to name Angel a homewrecker and accuse Dog of being a fraud. In the midst of this, Dog mentioned how Angel had supported him through a difficult moment. Even more unexpectedly, after an emotional visit on the Dr. Oz show, Dog proposed to Angel live on television. She was extremely astonished, claiming they were just pals. Dog later emphasized that the suggestion was not serious and was simply a test to see how people would react. Despite the confusion, the couple never married. After Beth died, Dog openly proclaimed that he would not remarry, but life had different plans. He soon met Francie Frayne, a woman who, like Dog, was suffering the death of her spouse. Francie's husband had died of cancer, and Dog had initially approached him about doing some housework. Instead, Dog and Francie bonded over their shared experiences of grief. They found consolation in one another, with Dog later revealing that they frequently discussed Beth and Francie's late spouse, assisting one another in coping with their sadness. Dog and Francie began dating in March 2020, and by May, he had already proposed. Many people were upset by how fast he seemed to move on from Beth, but Dog stated that if Beth were still alive, she would have wanted him to be happy. Duane and Francie married in September 2021 and began sharing details of their life together on social media, including images and videos of their excursions. Not long later, Dog released the film Hunter's Creed, which reflected on his life after Beth's death. He also struck a deal with Unleashed, a streaming service, for a new show called Dog Unleashed, in which he continued to pursue dangerous offenders. However, controversy erupted in 2021 when Unleashed's president, Michael Donovan, sued Dog, accusing him of making racist and homophobic remarks on set and improperly employing a taser. The lawsuit claimed Dog used a taser to threaten someone while recording the canceled show, which would be illegal given his prior murder conviction. Dog claimed the taser was only a prop, but the lawsuit proved otherwise. In response, Dog's lawyers dismissed the charges as Donovan's retribution for their failed business agreement. They guaranteed that the claims would be dismissed, and Dog pledged to sue Donovan for defamation once that happened. Behind the headlines, Dog faced a new obstacle. His legal difficulties included unpaid taxes. By 2022, he owed $1.60 million in taxes in Colorado and Hawaii, forcing him to face difficult financial decisions. He sold the Colorado mansion he and Beth purchased 13 years ago for $750,000. With the housing market rising, he sold the property for nearly double its original price, earning approximately $1.59 million to help pay off his obligations. Dog the Bounty Hunter may not be on television as often these days, but he still manages to create headlines. He recently sparked outrage during a public appearance with a televangelist, when he went on a rampage over transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney. His statements, which included misgendering Mulvaney and making threatening remarks, provoked outrage and rekindled debate about his outspoken nature. Despite the backlash, Dog has embraced a new phase in his life as a Christian influencer. He even wrote a book, 9 Lives and Counting, about his journey to Christianity. Dog believes his role has switched from bounty hunting to soul salvation, and he sees his new duty as a spiritual calling. However, he admits that he has not completely abandoned his former self. He characterizes himself as a Christian outlaw, someone who is equally passionate about pursuing fugitives as he is about assisting others in finding forgiveness.